Hey groupers, Pastor Marshall here. Well, we're still working our way through the 8th chapter. It's just like the 6th chapter, there's so much in it. Without requiring you to be too transparent, without digging too deep, and without having you be way vulnerable in front of your group, a little vulnerable. Was there a lie that you believed, maybe as a child or at some point in your life, that wasn't true and it led you down a road that brought pain? Was there a lie that you believed at some point in your life and the end result of that lie that you thought was the truth and you lived like it was the truth brought about some kind of pain? In verses 31 and 32, Jesus ties our holding to his teachings with our knowledge of truth and our being set free. Why is it necessary for us to stay connected to Jesus in order to gain these two things? How is our connection to Jesus essential to living in the truth and to being set free? Talk about that a little bit. And then, thinking about those three things, we begin to think about the discipleship process. Discipleship, this is what it means to be a faithful follower of Jesus. As disciples of Jesus, or the discipleship process is when we're actively following Jesus. And so there are some essential parts clearly outlined in these first two verses, verses 31 and 32. What is the first step in the discipleship process? Maybe that's a simple question. You might need these verses to know that. But what is the first step in the discipleship process? And then using these verses, what is the second step in the discipleship process? And then what is the third step in the discipleship process? And then what is the fourth step in the discipleship process? And so we have this beautiful outline for all of us, no matter where we are in our relationship with Jesus, to cling to. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Could you outline those? Write those down. Now, Jesus says that we are all slaves to sin. He says that all of us are sinners, all of us are slaves to sin. How can that be true? How can it be true that all of us are slaves to sin? And then discuss this idea that when we sin, we are not doing what we like, but we are doing what sin likes. That when we sin, we are not living in step with our desires and our wishes being made in the image of God, but we're in line, in step with sin. Talk about that idea for just a little bit. And then Jesus says that he's going to set us free from all of that, which is the great news. And so what are some of the most important things that Jesus and our faith in him can free us from? What are we freed from? As we step into a relationship with Jesus, what are we freed from? As we grow in a relationship with Jesus, what are we freed from? This discipleship process, that as we grow more and more mature as disciples, what greater freedoms come in our lives? What greater reliefs come in our lives? And now, turn back to the beginning of your Bible. I mean, it's almost the very beginning. Read Genesis 2, and there it records the first utterance of the devil in the Bible. Genesis 2. And how is this first question from the beginning look like a lie? How does Satan's very first question look like a lie? Genesis 3:1, not 2:1. Genesis 3:1. I misspoke there. Look at Genesis 3:1 and read this question that Satan speaks. And how is this the beginning of a lie? And then look at verses 4 and 5 of chapter 3. And what lies does the serpent tell? What lies, literal lies, does the serpent tell? And Jesus says that he is a murderer and the father of lies. And so what lies does he tell? And what murder or death results from these lies? And then turn to Hebrews chapter 6, verse 18. Hebrews 6:18. And what does the author of Hebrews tell us about the nature of God? What does the author of Hebrews tell us about who God is? And then turn, looking back at these verses in John 8, especially verse 44, what is the nature, what is the character of the devil? And then thinking about the devil's relationship with truth and God's relationship with truth, and the devil's relationship with lies and God's relationship with lies. We have these two opposite characters. Is there anything that the devil ever says that is true? Well, just a quick application, and I hope that you enjoy studying this passage. What lies do we believe as Christians that still bring us death? And so we talked about a works salvation, that we believe that we can earn our salvation, and so we're always working and not experience the freedom that we have in the grace of Christ. Or that God is a cosmic killjoy, that he doesn't want us to have fun, that if we're having fun, if we're enjoying ourselves, there's probably some sin that we haven't figured out yet. Or that God is a cruel judge, that it is God's wish for most people to go to hell, that it is God's wish to condemn, not God's wish to forgive. And so if we get into heaven, it's like we just squeaked by the hair of our chinny chin chin. Some people have this false view of God, that he's not going to let anybody in, and that's a lie. And so you might be thinking about some of those things and how they have affected your relationship with him, your relationship with the church, your relationship with others, and the death that they have brought. Make some changes. Well, I hope that you have a great group, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday as we finish this 8th chapter. God bless.